Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Melanin Mayhem podcast, hosted by your favorite country girl, Renee Davis. If this is your first time mixing it up mayhem style, oh, honey, you picked a good one to jump in on, let me tell you. But before we get started, I'm going to just put you up on game as to what you are getting yourself into. You see, I bring you the stories of some of the most heinous, diabolical, and downright audacious crimes and the Melanin Mayhem makers that committed them. You see, my mission in life is to dispel this myth that there are certain types of crimes that Black people don't commit. Because you know what? That's a lie, and we out here getting fucked up behind believing that shit. And, oh yeah, my mouth is hella reckless sometimes, and this episode, oh, it's gonna be a mess, so govern yourselves accordingly. But you'll be all right. Just ask the fine, upstanding members of the newer nation. Hey, Sugarfoots, how your mama and them? Are we all fireworked and barbecued out from last week? I hope your 4th was a good one, because this week I'm bringing my own fireworks to the church. And baby, we got us a real situation to talk about today. Now I know that we have talked about some audacious crimes and some diabolical motherfuckers that commit them. But baby, just when I think that we have seen it all, we have scraped the bottom of the bullshit, I come across a story sent to me by one of my wonderful newer nation that make me have to fix me a drink. And y'all know I don't even drink like that. You know, I prefer to inhale rather than swallow. Sometimes. But baby, after this one, the country girl had to just take a moment. Y'all ain't gonna believe it, but I'm telling you, in this case, if Roberta Elder, you remember she was the inaugural episode, the serial killer extraordinaire right here in Atlanta. And if her and Geraldine Parrish, our insurance policy queen, yeah, if it were possible to mix the two of them together, you would have today's mayhem maker. Y'all, this story got it all. Scamming, flim-flamming, killations and revelations, insurance fraud, and playing with the Lord. And a sprinkle of voodoo just to get a little let me tell you, I have laughed and I have clutched my pearls, all of it, learning about this vintage fuckery. So, baby, we are fixing to have us a good old time on this one. So I'm gonna let you know right now, if you are at work, you should probably take your break, because they for sure gonna think something wrong with you in just a few minutes, okay? Now that's as much of an intro tease as y'all gonna get today, because I'm ready to spill this tea, honey. So let's go on ahead and bring this scoundrel to the front of the congregation. This week's Melanin Mayhem maker is the Reverend Willie Maxwell, aka the Voodoo Preacher of Alabama. All right, now I told y'all that this was some vintage tea, so we don't have a lot of background information, and personally, I think the adult years are much more entertaining than anything the formative years could have brought us, so it's all right. But I can tell you that he was born in May of 1926, exactly when, have no clue, and he was born in Kellytown, Alabama, which is one of them blink and you will miss it kind of places west of Alexander City. Now, his mama was Ada, and his daddy was Will. And Ada was a domestic, and Will was a sharecropper. And at some point in time, they had sex, some bodily fluids were exchanged, and the result was Willie Maxwell. Willie was the 6th of 9 children. I said children because at this point in time in 1926, that's exactly what they was. They was children. Now, think this is late 20s, early 30s. Willie went to school for about 7 years, which was about common for people in the South in this type of situation. You know what I'm saying? And in the summer of 1943, when he was about to turn of age, he registered for the draft. And when he actually turned 18 years old, he reported for duty at Fort Benning right here in Georgia. Now, Willie didn't really see no fighting or nothing like that. He stayed stateside. And in 1945, he throwed the deuces to the Army, got a little discharge or whatever, and dipped out with $413.80 in his pocket. But 1945, life was still hard out here for a black man in Alabama. So rather than go and deal with that bullshit, he decided he'd deal with some more Army bullshit. So he re-enlisted in the Army, and he was sent to California this time. He went overseas for a little while, drove trucks for the Army, and then around 1947, he called it quits for real, and this time he went back to Alabama for good. Now, by now, Willie is like 21 years old, and he done been around the world a little bit, courtesy of Uncle Sam, you know what I'm saying? So compared to the average Bama of the time, Willie was suave and sophisticated, you know what I'm saying? 6'2", 180 pounds with washboard abs, straight up out the military. Oh, Willie was a snack, honey, and butter didn't melt in his mouth. Somebody even said, you would think that man came from heaven. He was so smooth. Oh, yes, honey. Willie Maxwell, honey, he did not come to play. And when he first got back, he jumped down at a little job, whatever, over at the textile mill and eased his way back into country life. And I told you he was easy on the eyes. So before long, he got him a little piece, you know what I'm saying? She a couple of years younger than him, but, it was all good because Mary Lou, that's her name, her parents gave Willie their blessing when he popped up with a ring for their daughter. And then they did the whole till death do us part thing on April 2nd, 1949. Now, the young couple, they did their thing or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Willie had a little job at the factory. It was up and down though, because punctuality wasn't really his strong suit, and sometimes he would come, sometimes he wouldn't. Willie liked to drink a little bit and be out here in these streets a little bit and whatever, and sometimes his extracurricular activities interfered with his job responsibilities. So you know what I'm saying? So sometimes he'd have a job, sometimes he wouldn't, and that's all right. It happens because Mary Lou got out there and she was, her man backbone. She went and got her 2 little jobs and they made it work, right? And at some point in time in this black man's life, he decided on a career path, if you will. And the ministry is where he placed his hat. Now, understand, he is called Reverend Willie Maxwell. However, ain't a church or tabernacle or a storefront ever claimed that Willie was a member of their crew. Now, Willie ain't apprenticing under nobody. He ain't got no church of his own. Ain't so much as a piece of paper from the New Life Missionary Mount Calvary First United Church of somebody who shot John was ever known to exist to say that Willie Maxwell had studied or passed through somebody's seminary classes, right? So I think it's safe to say that Willie Maxwell was a self-appointed preacher. And honey, it all makes sense because this motherfucker here was hell on wheels. And by the time I get through telling you all about the shenanigans of it all you gonna be able to say is but he's smooth, he's sophisticated, you know what I'm saying? He's well spoken, got a silver tongue. So he would be invited to preach at different churches around, and because he was so smooth with it, he started making a name for himself. And he might have would have had a church if he hadn't embarked on a murderous mayhem movement, honey, that derailed it all. So, Willie is preaching a little bit, besides the mill, he working over here at the quarry. And the quarry is where they blast open shit in the ground to get whatever is in the ground, whether it's chalk or rocks or whatever the case may be. That's what they do at the quarry. But it's a dusty job, if you will. And Willie is one of them smooth, debonair people. You ain't gonna never see him rusty and dusty. Please understand that. Say when they got off, everybody else would just wipe off a little bit, but they walk out looking ashy. Oh no, not Willie. Baby, they said by the time he left the quarry, that motherfucker looked like he had just got up, baby. Not a dust speck in sight. Oh, they say Willie was, if you will, the Alabama Dapper Dan. Always polished, always looking like money, even though he ain't really have two nickels to rub together. You know what I'm saying? You gotta fake it till you make it, and Willie knew how to fake it till he make it. So again, Willie is off and on at the mill, and he working over at the quarry, and he on his ministerial path. But Willie is also linked to some voodoo shit. I don't know if you believe or not. I'm just reporting the news. I'm telling you what they say. But they say Willie was linked to some people who was well known in the voodoo circles. I don't really know nothing about that shit, but my peoples from the country, you know, they believe in what they believe in. So I ain't got nothing to say about it. I'm just telling you, Willie dibbled and dabbled in that kind of thing. You know, he would put a root on a bitch for a price, or take a root off a bitch for a price. You know what I'm saying? and one of his specialties was keeping evil spirits away. Oh yes, Willie knew how to make sure them Hanks couldn't get on you. They say Willie would take some chickens and hang them upside down from the pecan trees, and then he would take their blood and smear it on his doorstep. You know, get to put that blood and smear it up there real good across the door, and that's what keep the Hanks away. Now, again, I don't know if y'all familiar with any of this, but there are those that believe deeply. And in the 70s in Coosa County in Alabama, everybody knew Willie was with the shits. They say when Willie pulled up in the hood, motherfuckers would close up shop till he left because they was scared he was gonna put a root on their ass. Honey, don't fuck around with that voodoo. I'm gonna get the hell on too. So Willie Maxwell, you could say, is well known and well feared in some cases in Coosa County and Tallapoosa, right? But he was still out here in these streets, and he always found time to lay hands on the ladies. Oh, silver-tongued rascal. I mean, married life is fine, but it ain't exactly what Willie feel like is working for him now. You know what I'm saying? Because him and his old lady, they've been married for a while now. And how do I know this? Well, at some point, Reverend Reckless had a thought on how to make his problems go away and fatten his pockets at the same damn time. Found it in a magazine. It was a form that he could fill out and mail in to open an insurance policy on anybody. Now, New Nation, in the 70s and probably well into the 80s, you ain't need none but a person's name and date of birth to take out an insurance policy. They was called mail order insurance policies, and maybe from anywhere from $0.25 to $1, you could basically put a bounty on a big head, because, you know, basically that's what it is. You done filled out this paperwork to make a motherfucker worth more to you dead than they are alive. And Reverend Rack 'em Up was about to show a bitch how to cut their water off and get away with it. Oh yes, honey, buckle up, Betsy. So Mary Lou is still yet holding on. Her and Willie been married for about 20 years now, you know what I'm saying? But Minister Make a Move is ready for a new model, and he about to trade Mary ass in permanently. See, what had happened was Mary Lou was supposed to been going to one of her sister's house, right? But she ain't never make it. So about 2 o'clock in the morning, Reverend Reckham called one of the sisters to ask her if she knew where his wife was. And this sister that he called lived across the street from him, so she could look outside her window and see the Reverend car and see that her sister's car was gone. And because this motherfucker calling her at 2 o'clock in the morning, something in her bones told her some shit ain't right. And ooh, she told her husband, baby, get up, we got to go find my sister. Honey, something is wrong. Meanwhile, in between times, a Rev, he called the police to tell them that his wife ain't home. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And he had heard somewhere, maybe in his subconscious or something, that somebody might have had an accident out there on Highway 22. And Highway 22 is the highway that Mary Lou would have took if she was coming home from her older sister's house, right? So he tell the police, if y'all would, if you don't mind, would y'all just ride up and down Highway 22 and see if you see my wife, just in case she has some car trouble or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just put my mind at ease. Well, the police, they ain't got shit else to do at that time of morning in Mayberry, so they go ride Highway 22, and before long, they come up on a 1968 Ford Fairlane on the shoulder of the road. That's the same kind of car Mary Lou got. Now, this car is like 12 feet off the paved road next to the tree line. If you ever been in Georgia, Alabama, you know when our highways got trees on the side of them. So this is next to the tree line. But mind you, this car ain't hit no tree or nothing. It look like it's just been parked over here. It don't look like it's been in an accident. Again, it just looks like somebody has parked it here and left it. It's a couple of scratches on the door, but nothing that screams that this car just spun out, lost control, or anything like that, right? The engine is still running. The lights are still on. The police, they get out and they check out the scene and they find a body. Ooh, honey, Mary Maxwell, Mary Lou, was found beat to sleep and choked the fuck out in the car in August of 1969. Now, instantly, they thought that Reverend Red was the motherfucker that sent Mary to the room. Cause who the fuck else gonna go upside the first lady head like that? I mean, Reverend lay hands on him was indicted for sure. And remember, he was the one that told the police where to go look for Mary Lou. So it was all just a little too coincidental, if you know what I mean. And then the crime lab, they determined that Mary Lou had been strangled and beat to sleep outside of her car at the church. Oh, I didn't mention that. They had found some blood over there in the driveway at the church, and then they matched the blood type to Mary Lou's blood type, so they just figured ain't nobody else at the church said they mentioned anything about, losing some blood. Mary Lou's the only person around here that we know lost some blood, and it's the same blood type, so it's probably Mary Lou's. And since it looked like Mary Lou got frizzled over there at the church, we need to go back and talk to Rev. This time when they get to the house, that motherfucker in the backyard burning some shit. Looked like he got Mary Lou's shit in a barrel and some of his clothes. Rev, what you trying to hide? Oh, that you a hoe? And a broke hoe at that. Come to find out the Reverend was overextended like a motherfucker. Oh, he was definitely trying to keep up with Reverend Jones now. He owed everybody. He was behind on their mortgage. He was behind on the utilities. He owed everybody, and he needed some cash fast. And not to mention there was some car notes, his car note, Mary Lou's car note, and his side piece's car note. Oh yes, this motherfucker got a side piece and he done bought this whole car. Oh, jack leg ass, no church having ass, shyster ass, brokey. Okay. Well, anyway, at this point in time, he got a lawyer. The lawyer's name is Tom Radney, and Tom is fighting the case. But see, here go where the niggatry gonna come in. Now see, the state's star witness was a woman named Dorcas Anderson. And Dorcas, she was gonna tell it all cause she seen it all. Pastor put them paws on him out to be ashamed of himself doing Sister Maxwell like that. Ooh, it don't make no sense. I can't wait to get up on the stand and tell what happened cause he ain't right. But who? Right before the trial? Damn if Dorcas ain't fucked around and married the Reverend. Yes, honey. Now she can't testify against her husband, spousal privileges or whatever. But they put her up on the stand anyway, and she's the missus now, and her whole story has changed. Oh, now she ain't seen shit. This bitch got up on the stand, raised her right hand to God, and said, "That's a good man, Savannah. Y'all ain't about to have my man yoked up in this bullshit. He ain't do shit, and y'all can't make me say shit." Boy, that dick must have been platinum coated. Baby, the Holy Spirit was filling her with the goodness of it all. I don't know about that dick of death, but I do know that Reverend Cash Him Out did indeed cash out because he had a policy on the First Lady of No Church for $15,000. He took that policy out for 25 cents right before Mary Lou died from the old American insurance company. Ooh, the cha-ching of it all, honey. Now, Willie got a little change in his pocket, so he decided it's time to maybe go get some official paperwork on his ministerial aspirations. So he go on over there to Selma University and take a couple of seminary classes in 1970 and got himself a certificate. It's legal now. So Reverend Voodoo No Church Maxwell, he's still out here in these streets. And now everybody talking about how it's a shame how Miss Mary got done and how it must have been Voodoo that ran her off the road. Cause ain't no way the goddamn Willie Maxwell ain't supposed to been on the chain gang right now. You know what I'm saying? That Voodoo shit he be doing. Well, but before long, I guess them pockets started feeling a little light and he needed an influx of cash. So the next thing you know, he is headed to the bank of Snatch a Life and is about to make another withdrawal. Now, Rev had a brother named Columbus. And in 1971, they found Columbus on the side of one of them back roads in Coosa County. And damn if Columbus wasn't dead than a motherfucker. Now, he just there. What the fuck has just happened to Columbus? He just dead. He is relatively young and in good health. And now he is just communing with the Lord? Yeah, when the medical examiner, got a hold to Columbus, they said that Columbus died from consuming too much alcohol and just baked away in the sun. Well, goddamn, Columbus was known to have a drink or three, but nothing excessive. He wasn't a type. He was a social drinker, far from an alcoholic. But you mean to tell me he drunk himself to death? The medical examiner said, yeah, it almost looked like somebody poured alcohol down Columbus's throat because his blood alcohol is higher than giraffe pussy. Okay. Shit now. And guess what? Guess who had a policy on Columbus? You guess it. Oh, Reverend sure they ass out of here. Oh, baby, he went and collected a check and didn't have nothing on the funeral for his brother. Ooh, that's some nigga shit right there. But he did preach the eulogy. The gasity of it all, honey. Now, I ain't through. Baby, we just scratching the surface of this shit here. It's gonna get real rough up in here. It's gonna get real bad in just a minute. Hold on. Now, y'all remember lying ass Dorcas, the chick that was supposed to put Reverend ass in the pen? Well, God don't like ugly. And what goes around comes right on back around. Now, Dorcas, you in the beginning said that you saw with your own eyes Reverend kill Will fuck his wife up. And you seen the shit. And you was gonna tell it all. Then you let Reverend Slick Tongue make you forget everything you saw. Cause that tongue was slick. and you really thought that he was a changed man. Well, honey, a leopard don't change their spots. And the A-man assassin was not done with his wicked ways. Oh, no, baby. The second Mrs. Maxwell was about to find out the hard way. Now, see, what had happened was one day in 1972, we talking like 3 and some change years from when the original First Lady was sent on to glory, Dorcas' punk ass was out running some errands. First Lady of the No Church, or I guess in this case, Second Lady of the No Church, had some shit to do. Well, this particular day, Dorcas went dark. Yeah, she ain't make it home. Well, somebody rolled up on her car on the side of one of them country roads in Coosa County. And lo and behold, if Dorcas ain't deader than a motherfucker on the floor of her car. Now, mind you, this is the 70s, y'all, and cars was big, and you could damn near lay prostrate on the floor. So, yeah, Dorcas is gone on to the upper room. But this time, the medical examiner say, well, it looked like she had maybe some type of acute asthma attack. And breath is real important to life. But New Orleans Nation, we got to look a little deeper into what an acute asthmatic attack looks like. Y'all know what it looked like? It looked like suffocation. And it really and truly ain't no way to tell the difference. Now it might be, but in 72, they didn't know. Either way, Dorcas's air got disconnected. So the question is, when the fuck did Dorcas become a sufferer of asthma? Because her peoples that have known her since she was a little bitty girl, they say they don't have no recollection of Dorcas ever being on that Primatine mist. Oh, no. Nothing in her medical records ever listed that Dorcas sometimes couldn't catch her breath. I don't know about that, but what I do know is that shortly after Dorcas was ashes to ashes and dust to dust, Reverend got a check for $40,000 off that life insurance policy he had on Dorcas' dumb ass. And then, in some real niggly moves, old body count Bishop took his ass to the courthouse, trying to persuade a judge that the insurance company had cheated him out of the actual amount that he was supposed to have gotten for his wife's untimely demise. Oh, yes, honey, the audacity of it all. Oh, wait, let me tell you about it. This nigga said he wanted them to hand over a check for $200,000 $6,000 for that double indemnity policy that he had also taken out on his old lady. So mind you, he had already gotten paid out for the regular insurance policy, right? But you see, he added a rider onto the policy that paid double if Dorcas died accidentally. So the story that he was trying to sell was that Dorcas was driving. She had an asthma attack and then had an accident in her car, and the shock of the accident is what killed her. And since the accident had happened, that had made her death accidental. You can't make this shit up. I promise you, this is like some real shit. And the insurance company and the judge was like, boy, bye. Bye. All the way bye. Go have several seats. Because mind you, the car that Dorcas had this accident in, it ain't hardly got a scratch on it. We talking maybe $200-$300 to put it back right. But it was the shock of it all, right? Nigga, if you don't get your ass out of here. You say the bitch had asthma, well, that falls under natural causes, so the murderous minister had to leave on up out of there without them extra coins. Try harder next time, sir. And indeed, he will. But you know, here's what I found out. This nigga was like Sweet Lenny. He had plenty of policies on all kinds of people and was indeed collecting. And now here's the thing. The mail-in policies, sometimes they didn't want to pay because the turnaround time was hella quick from the time the policy was took out to the time it was cashed in. And in some cases, they tried not to pay Reverend get rich or die trying. So this nigga would take their ass to court. And he kept that lawyer on retainer, that sour creamy named Big Tom Radney, the one who got him off when he killed his first wife. Oh yeah, Tom Radney stayed helping Willie get that money, while of course getting his own collection of fees for handling the cases. This lice landlord was collecting so many checks for Willie that the streets called his offices the Maxwell house. Ooh, child, honey, when you got your good cracker on your team, honey, Willie was unstoppable. So, okay, time is moving on. And the gospel grim reaper, he appeared to just be doing his life. Little voodoo over here, little preaching over there. You know, he still ain't got no church, ain't been invited to preach it now revival since all this killation started. But he out here Reverend just the same. And it's been about 4 years since the last untimely exit of a Reverend RIP family member. And I'm just thinking, you know, maybe the Bible's gonna stop dropping for good now. You know, he done learned this lesson. He got it out of his system. Just let it go. But no, player. Rev still got a few more good kills in him and more insurance policies to collect on. So now is where nephew James Hicks enters the story. Now, James, oh, he's the Reverend's sister's child. He young. He about 26 years old, but he's healthy. You know, one of them strong back types that we like. He work over there at the pulp mill and he got a little piece of change in his pocket. He living good for a youngin'. Well, 3 years after the second wife died, how about Ralph's nephew just up and kicked the bucket? Yep. The year is 1976, and once again, somebody kin to the Rev is found deader than a motherfucker in their car. Somehow, some way, on this country road in Coosa County, ain't nothing but road and grass. Nephew has run off the road. Now, he ain't hit shit. He ain't banged up or nothing. Nigga look like he sleep. The medical examiner say, I can't find now reason as to why this young man is no longer in the land of the living. So, of course, what they say, ooh, it's voodoo. Ooh, it's voodoo. They don't know why he dead. Real did that shit. They put that voodoo, put that shit on. So, they put down, you know what? It must be natural causes because we can't figure it out. And so, now the family has got to bury a young person. And unlike today when it's people dying that ain't never died before on a regular basis, back in the 70s, it was unheard of for a young person to just keel over. So they had to get their coins together to get the plot and, all that shit. Well, come to find out, as they were going through James's stuff, James got a policy. Again, unheard of for a 20-something to have a life insurance policy, but James did. Wonder when he took out that policy. Oh, no, you got it wrong. James didn't take out the policy. According to the paperwork, his mama did. the Rev's sister. But his mama's like, well, wait a minute. I ain't got no recollection of ever filling out no paperwork for my child to be covered by life insurance. So, in digging a little deeper, they were able to get to the original application. Again, this is the 70s. Companies kept that kind of paperwork on file. And so they look at the application. Tell me why the pulpit predator was the person that filled out the application. So here is what Rev tried to get slick. You see, he had put his sister down as the beneficiary, but being as how she was so distraught about losing her son, she was just consumed with grief, the Rev tried to get her to give him power of attorney over the estate of his nephew so he could just handle the business for her. No, nigga. You wanted authority over that insurance check, and he just knew. Oh, he just knew in his soul that his sister was gonna do that shit. But Sid was like, nah, bruh, I got it. Thank you, but no thank you. Sis, okay, you know your brother. You know he probably killed your son. Well, Willie didn't get power of attorney, so he didn't get access to that particular check, but I'm sure he borrowed a little something from Sis. You know what I'm saying? Probably hit her with that. If it wasn't for me taking out that policy and putting your name down, you wouldn't even have nothing. You know that shit worked. But again, pockets must have been feeling a little light. It was time to cash in a policy that he was the beneficiary on. Now, somewhere after Dorcas went dark and we was damn about James, old problematic pastor gets married yet again to wife number 3. Ophelia Burns married this nigga and they set up house. Now, hit a T on Ophelia. Apparently, she was named as a co-conspirator in Willie's first wife Mary Lou's death, but she was never charged. Ooh, woo, honey. That's some vintage nasty work right there, baby. Woo. Now, Ophelia got this daughter named Shirley Ann Ellington. And for a while, everything is cool. Ain't nobody popping up dead. No insurance policies being collected on that we know of. But a diabolical motherfucker don't like things to be chill for too long before they jump off the porch with a little bit of mayhem. And the minister mayhem maker extraordinaire is no exception, honey. This time, it's his stepdaughter that meets her maker far too soon. Allow me to set the scene for this fuckery with Shirley Ann. So, here's what we know for a fact. We know that on June 11th, 1977, Shirley Ann Ellington, they called her Shell. Shell left the house. That's all we know for an absolute fact. Now, at some point, somebody rolled up on a car, sitting off to the side of one of them country roads in Coosa County, and there appeared to be a body laying under the car. So, upon further inspection, the passerby realizes that it is a young woman, and she don't look like she live here no more. So, the police is called expeditiously, and when they get there and survey the scene, it appears that young Shirley Ann has met her demise by this car falling on top of her as she tried to change a tire. Now, I'm gonna just let that sink in for just a minute. Just hang out in the atmosphere. Roll that around your head for a minute. A car is on top of Shirley Ann. Shirley Ann is face up on the ground on her back with a tire on her face. Now, the obvious question is, how the fuck did a car end up on top of Shirley Ann? She's 16. She ain't never expressed any aspirations of wanting to work on a car or nothing like that. And I gotta believe that if she had a flat tire, she certainly wasn't gonna be the one to change it. And you know what? Okay, even if she did, I'm gonna say, we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she did. What would make anybody wanna lay on the ground and change the tire? Even if she had never done it before a day in her life, she had probably seen somebody do it or saw that shit on TV, so she knew the basics of what the positioning would look like to change a tire. Never in the history of changing tires has a motherfucker laid on the ground to do it. So how in the fuck did she end up under this goddamn car? You see, this is just one of them strange occurrences that keep on happening to people that are connected to the pulpitless pastor put them down. Ooh, Ooh, Lord have mercy. 16-year-old Shirley Ann Ellington was the third Mrs. Reverend Maxwell's adopted daughter. She has been unalived, sent from this world on June 11th, 1977. June 11th. Remember that. But this is the 70s. And you know, people out of the blue in their teenage years, water just don't get cut off. But you know what I'm saying? The streets was talking and they was saying that somebody disconnected Shirley Ann and that somebody was real Merk their ass Maxwell. And the streets was buzzing so hard that even Willie Maxwell's longtime attorney was like, hey, look, bro, I can't do nothing for you, man, if something come out of this shit. Don't call me. You better call Tyrone. Shit me. You know when the white folks turn their backs on you, you done fucked up now. That nigga was he ain't no nigga, but you know what I'm saying. He was ready to get that money with you, but now a line has been crossed, sir. Well, Shirley Ann Ellington, oh, honey, she had an uncle named Robert. He 36 years old and a bit of a hothead. And you see, Shirley Ann was his brother Nathaniel's child, who used to be married to Ophelia, the current Miss Reverend Willie Maxwell. Now, Uncle Robert, he married and he's got a daughter that was described in the papers as blind, deaf, and mute. Today we would say autistic, nonverbal, vision, and hearing impaired. But anywho, Shirley Ann always babysat and looked after Uncle Robert's daughter. So you got to understand there was a closeness, a strong bond that Unc had for his niece that was so a part of his only child's life. So please understand, Unc was distraught by his niece being dead. But he was 38 hot, knowing in his soul that the goddamn Reverend no good, no church having ass did the killing of his blood. Oh, baby, he was ready to stand on business and handle that business that needed to be handled. So, wait a minute. Don't get ahead of us now. Now they planning Shirley Ann's funeral. And oh, it's a sad, sad time. But the one thing they didn't have to worry about was who was going to deliver the eulogy. I know, right? Yes, honey. The motherfucking minister murderer that murdered Shirley Ann is going to be the same motherfucker that sent her on to glory. Ooh, Jesus, honey. You can't make this shit up. This really happened. I be trying not to laugh, 'cause Lord knows this is not funny. Shirley Ann is gone to the upper room, and the negacity of this stinking ass, jackleg ass, no church having ass preacher is about as audacious as it comes. You killed this girl, your wife's daughter, and now you gonna preach her into the ground and have the last word? Ooh, that's diabolical as fuck, church. Can I get an amen? Now, one person who absolutely felt the way I feel was Uncle Robert. Honey, he was not gonna stand for that goddamn Willie killing ass to stand over his niece and say a goddamn thing. And he told him, don't do that shit. I'm telling y'all, if that motherfucker show up anywhere near my niece's funeral, I'ma show you better than I can tell you. That shit ain't gonna happen. Now, you know, his ex-sister-in-law, the third possible victim of Voodoo Willie's pussy punk ass, Miss Ophelia Burns Maxwell. Oh, she was all, that's my husband. He a man of God. That was his daughter. He loved her. Girl, I had to hold my mute because I was about to call you out your name. And I don't even remember right now what your name is, and I don't even care to look it up. But honey, read the signs. And guess what? Why your husband got an insurance policy on you and your daughter, and he just cashed in the insurance policy on your daughter, and you know it? Bitch, please. Let me tell you something. My daughter come up dead, and my old man that ain't her daddy got an insurance policy. I ain't gonna be the only mother in a black dress, I can tell you that. It's gonna be a whole lot of slow singing and flower bringing to go around for us all. You better check that. I told y'all the Lord's still working on me. Anyway, to say that Uncle Robert was on site, baby, that was an understatement. But you know how it is in families sometimes, especially during these types of situations. You know, it's always somebody popping off and talking reckless and want to fight, you know, that type of shit. But you don't really think they gonna do nothing no more than just perform at the funeral. You know, perform. Falling out of shit. You know, mama can't grieve because they ass over there trying to climb in the casket. You know them. It's always 1 or 2 or 5, depending on the family. You know, so they just let Robert talk his shit and keep it pushing. But here's the thing. Everybody knew that Robert liked to keep that peace be still on him at all times. He had a little 25 that he never left home without, like an American Express card, baby. So, in my mind, to think that Unc just selling wolf tickets, that's a little sus, because y'all know Unc about that life. Okay. All right. So here we go. It's the day of the funeral. It's June 18th, 1977. Ooh, the church is packed to the motherfucking gills. And I don't know how big the chapel was, but they say it was between 300 and 600 people. Depending on the source, it was between that. So we're going to say between 300 and 600 people inside, according to the street committee, right? And ooh, honey, the crying and the moaning of it all. Y'all know how it go. The choir up there singing. They pulling all the emotion out these attendees. Ain't a dry eye in the building. Okay, here come the family. They coming in. Miss Mama of the deceased. Ooh, she distraught. The cousins and all. And of course, Shirley Ann Daddy and his people, including So, Ophelia people, they right there beside her. They holding her up. Leading her down the aisle where her baby girl is laying in a coffin. Ooh, the hollering. It's intense. They get to the casket. Ooh, it's another moment. Ophelia is slain in the spirit. Them big girls in white dresses that we call ushers, they fanning and they sing. They put that prayer cloth across Ophelia and get her to the front pew and get her settled in, right? Now, Unc them, they in the second row. And he trying to keep it together, but he about to lose it because his favorite niece is in that box up there and she gone way too soon. It's too much, it's too much, it's too much. But you know what? You know who we don't see? That goddamn Willie Maxwell. Now, his wife is in the pew alone. Let me find out you scared. If you scared, just say you scared. Okay, Rev. Now, as you may know, in most black funerals, once the first pew of people are seated, the choir finish up, you know what I'm saying? That soloist hit that last high note, and then the preacher step up and do his thing to prepare the body for his final ride. Well, in this particular case, the funeral is being held in the chapel of the House of Hutchinson Funeral Home, and there is an actual, factual, registered, anointed, and appointed minister there that's about to send Shirley Ann on home. That would be the Reverend E.B. Burpo Jr., pastor of the Bethel Baptist Church. Just side thought, I wonder why they didn't do the funeral over there at Bethel Baptist then. You know, since Reverend E.B., that's his church. Let me find out they cheaped out on Shirley Ann's funeral. Anyway, that's not the point. Anyway, so Reverend Burpo, he did his thing and the funeral went off without any issues. Okay, so right before the services was about to conclude, you know, the moment when the family realizes it may be the last time it's actually about to happen, and the emotions rise and the tears fall and the hollering starts, and in this case they about to close the casket. So oh shit, Ophelia, she try to jump in and she go and climb up on the casket and she distraught and crying and hollering and whatever, and then she slain in the spirit one more time. But this time, instead of them big girls from Decatur stepping in, her husband pop up to help his wife up from in front of the casket. Well, this nigga must have been way in the back, cause hadn't nobody realized he was there until that moment. Well, as Minister Merk motherfucker walked his wife back to her seat, Unc caught sight of that nigga. And baby, there was one spark that set it off. It was Shirley Ann's big sister, Lavinia Lee. She jumped up and started clowning on Willie Maxwell. You killed my sister, and now you gonna pay for it, motherfucker. Oh, shit. Baby, the next thing you know, Unc done jumped up and said, I told your motherfucking ass not to come up at my niece's funeral, you murdering motherfucker. Baby, then Unc proceeds to make sure real Willie Maxwell never speaks again. He reached into the pocket of his green suit, pulls out that switch, and put 3 in Reverend Rope-a-Dope face. End of discussion. Permanently disconnected. No longer in service. Oh, baby. When I tell you, the church is shooketh. Oh, what in the entire fuck just happened here? Reverend Willie is on the floor in front of the casket. Dead to the motherfucker. The casket still got the lid up. So Shirley Ann just laying here in the middle of her own funeral, waiting to wrap this thing up and finish her funeralization. And that shit ain't gonna happen because it's pandemonium up in this bitch. You know black people. Come on now. Oh, they was running and they was shouting and they was cussing. Baby, this sound like my type of place. People was falling out. Miss dead Reverend and dead daughter, she don't know what the fuck to do. She went from crying by her daughter to seeing her husband face clean shot off his head by her brother-in-law, who's still standing here talking cash shit. Talking about, I told you you wasn't gonna say shit. You wasn't gonna be in this motherfucker. And I meant that shit. Y'all, I don't even do funerals like that, but let me tell you something. I'd have paid good coin to be up in that bitch. Like, if I had 3 wishes, I might legit ask to go back in time and let me see this shit in real time because my visuals got me fucked up. So the real thing, baby, the popcorn, give it to me. I need that in my life. Okay, we gotta go. So somebody called the police because, you know, this is a whole situation and we need some assistance. And the police come. They didn't have far to go because the police station was only a couple of blocks away, you know, from the funeral home. And Robert, he ain't went nowhere. He's standing with his brothers, Nathaniel, Shirley Ann's daddy, and his brother William, as well as, you know, some cops that was working the funeral. Now put a pin in that right there for just a second about them cops that work in the funeral. We're going to circle back to that in just 2 seconds. But Robert, he amped, right? He's still hyped because, you know, even though the popo is here, he's still talking about this crime he just committed in front of all these witnesses. I mean, talking about shit like, you know, I had to do it. And if I had to do it again, I'd do that shit again. Sir, now is the time to shut the fuck up. It's free. And it might keep you free. I'm just saying. Now, they haven't arrested him while he doing all this talking, so there have been no Miranda rights read. But still, my guy, and anybody else who might find themselves in the presence of a cop after doing some not legal type of shit, shut the fuck up. It's free. Now, here's the twist. Now, guess who was a deputy sheriff for the Coosa County Sheriff Department until a few years prior to this little situation and was one of the 2 law enforcement people there working the funeral? Now, it wasn't Robert. It was his brother William, who he's standing here talking about this little killation situation with. Now, here's where it gets tricky, because Robert is talking to his brother as a brother, not as his brother who is a cop, who is also being paid that day to be at the funeral, not as an uncle, but as traffic control in an official uniform and all. But he's speaking freely. But you know how this shit go. His brother is or was the law, and the law say anything you say to me, we gonna use that shit against you, even if you ain't been read your Miranda rights. That's going to get real interesting. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Let's press on. We got a lot to get through. And I'm trying to go. Oh, God, this episode is running so late. Okay, so now you know, bro, he going to look out for bro. And some of the cops that's here to investigate are his peoples. You know what I'm saying? That whole blue line shit don't disappear just because you retired or stop working. So they treating Robert decently, and they haul his ass out to the county jail. Now, please don't feel bad for Robert because he locked up, because, baby, he wasn't there but a hot minute. Now, on June 18th, 1977, when all this went down, this is a Saturday. Now, you got to think the funeral probably started somewhere between 11 and 1. So I gather that Robert was in custody somewhere around 11:50 to 150, right? Either way, he was walking out of jail Sunday morning on a $10,000 bill. Now tell me where you know that you can go before a judge in the country before Monday morning. Shit, Robert was low-key hero for taking care of that little business in such a spectacular way. Less than 24 hours after killing a motherfucker in front of everybody, and you at the house eating Sunday dinner? Okay. Tell me you don't care what I'm saying it. Well, you know what? That's not actually true. They did care. They did, because guess what was happening around the same time of the shooting? The police had gotten the reports back from the autopsy of Shirley Ann. And come to find out, she had been strangled and posed to make it look like an accident. And so the police were in the process of putting the paperwork together to charge Willie Maxwell with her murder when Robert took matters into his own hand. So they was a little pissed that they didn't get a chance to lock up good Reverend Reaper on their own, you know? But shit happens. Now things move fast, and I'm gonna tell you, if ever there was a trial I wish I could have been at, kind of like that funeral, I wish I could have been at this trial, because they say that motherfucker was lit from what I have read. Picture it. It's late September 1977 in Alexander City, Alabama. Ooh, it's hot as the hinges of hell in that bitch. Not a AC in sight. Just heat and sweat and church fans. Martin Luther King all up in that bitch represented well. You know, I'm just fanning. This motherfucker is packed like the club. Everybody in this bitch. It's standing room only. And they say the atmosphere is kind of like how you will be at a family reunion. The people's is talking and whispering the whole entire time. When you know you can sit and talk shit in the goddamn courtroom. I'm talking about this going down. Look, it feel like the only thing missing was Unc and some Jesus slippers in there on the grill. Now, the court, they ain't not just kicking it. They might just bust out laughing like they at a comedy show, because they really up in this bitch tripping. And guess what? The judge ain't saying nothing to nobody about it either. Judge James Avery cooler than a polar bear's toenails. And if you know, you know. Shout out Outcast. They say the judge was up in that bed smoking a cigar and chilling during the recess, you know, just kicking it. But here go the part that's really got me kicking, y'all. How about the street committee out here talking about that Reverend Maxwell done rose up like Lazarus, and they been seeing him riding around Coosa County in a white Cadillac. They say this motherfucker go show up at his own murder trial. Oh, I love my people. Because, baby, motherfuckers was really playing into that shit. You know our people. When we believe something, we believe that shit hard. And if you the superstitious type, or you believe in voodoo, you think that shit is real. And I ain't here, like I said, to tread on nobody's belief systems, because I personally believe that all of this just adds to the flavor of black folks. Our special sauce, if you will. Because some of us is too goddamn woke, and you just have to stand there and nod, because the shit they believe is out there. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes in the country people believe in a lot of spiritual shit, like haints and spirits and witches riding you and shit. And if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, reach out to one of your country cousins. They'll tell you all about it. And if you ain't got no country cousins, hit me on social media. I'll school you. But anyway, there are a lot of people speculating that Rev run a bitch down was going to use his voodoo powers to come back like Voldemort and put roots on everybody that testified on Robert's behalf. So you understand this is a prelude of what's to come during the trial. And for the defense, it was simple. Attorney Tom Radney said that the nigga Reverend Willie Maxwell had been terrorizing Coosa County and Tallapoosa for years, and everybody knew it. He done killed 5 people in his own damn family. And y'all know he did. He killed this man's niece and collected an insurance payout on the shit, and then was fixing to get up there and talk at her funeral in front of everybody that knew he was the motherfucker that killed her. Your Honor, the jury, my client went insane for like 2.2 seconds. He lost his shit. He's sorry. He need help. Counseling. He don't need prison. Now, plot twist. The name Tom Radney, y'all remember him. Y'all have heard that name throughout the story. He's here to help Robert get off now, but remember, a few years back, he was Reverend Willie Maxwell's defense attorney when he was on trial for killing his first wife, and also represented him when he was going through trying to get all that money for the insurance company. So, okay, Robert, you might got you a old white Johnny Cochran type of motherfucker defending you right now. I mean, he got Bishop beat him up off. He might get you off too. Shit. I like your chances. So, the prosecution, they was like, this nigga a killer. 1,000 people literally seen him do the killing. He admitted to the law that he did the killing after the killing was over. This nigga ain't crazy. Case closed. So, boom, off the bat, prosecutor Tom Young, he wants to bring to the stand the cop that actually transported Robert to jail that day to talk about all that free speaking he was doing. Well, hold on. Not so fast, because the defense was like, you can't call him. He can't say shit because my client was not under Miranda. So, the prosecution was like, okay, then bet. We'll call
Robert's brother because he a sheriff and he can testify to what Robert said. Well, again, the defense was like, oh, no. Au contraire, mon frere. You can't call him either because he an extension of the law. And if he gonna get on the stand for y'all, he 5-0. And my client was Mirandized for his ass either. And the judge was like, you know what? Points were made, and the prosecution could not present any statements that Robert made during that time to the jury. But I mean, okay, even without the statements that Robert said about him doing it and liked it and would do it again, he shot this man in the face in front of a whole ass church of people. I'm just saying. But we're gonna press on. Then the prosecution called Reverend E.B. Burpo Jr. to the stand, because remember, Reverend E.B. Burpo was the one who did the eulogy, and he was friends with the minister Mayhem, and he had known old boy for years. So the prosecution had him on the stand to talk about the deceased, and the Reverend got up there and did what religious men do: bullshit around the truth. He painted Reverend Maxwell out to be such a good dude, almost a goddamn saint, and he ain't know nothing about no voodoo. Okay, Rev. Well, the defense, they cross-examined him, and it was like, so, if Reverend Max Hale was such a good man and man of God, how come he ain't have no church? How come you ain't make him a minister at your church? That's when Reverend Burpo started fidgeting and stuttering and shit. Go ahead and tell the truth and shame the devil, Rev. So Reverend Burpo finally admitted that, there was a bit of speculation that Reverend Maxwell liked to send folks on the glory on his own timeline. And with rumors like that, Reverend Burpo couldn't have them kind of clouds of suspicion in his pulpit. Okay, Reverend Burpo. Okay. So then the prosecution called somebody from the crime lab, a man named Tellis Hudson. Now, I'm going to try to get through this, but this tickles my soul. Because Tellis, he think he coming to court to just talk about some basic crime lab shit, right? The bullets, the trajectories, the kind of shit. And that's what the prosecution led him through with their questioning. But, oh, baby, when the defense did their cross-examination, shit went left, and Tellis didn't know what the fuck was going on. The defense asked what Reverend Maxwell was wearing when he was brought in, and Tellis said he had on a suit. So then the defense said, well, since you know what he was wearing and you collected the evidence, what the rest of the evidence? And Tellis was like, what you talking about? You see his suit right there in the evidence bag. And so the defense lawyer said, well, what about the black pepper? And Tellis was like, what? The lawyer said, did the deceased have a box of black pepper in his suit pocket? And Tellis was like, oh, that's what that was? I don't know. I turned that shit over to the chemist because, that ain't what I do. So I really can't speak on that. So the lawyer say, so you mean to tell me you trying to say the DA didn't call you and tell you not to bring that strange black powder with you to court? And Tellis was like, shit, ain't nobody told me shit. You know what I'm saying? So then the lawyer was like, let me ask you this then. The entire time you've been investigating murders, have you ever known anybody to have black pepper on them when you found them? Have you? And Tellis is sitting there like, well, now that you put it like that, no, I have not. And the defense was like, yeah, only them voodoo people keep that powder on them. The prosecution was like, I object. This ain't got shit to do with nothing. To which the defense replied, you're right, Mr. Prosecutor. Black pepper ain't got nothing to do with nothing at a funeral. So why did he have it on him if he wasn't voodooing in the pulpit over my client's niece? Oh my God. And you know what? Cool as a fan judge. He was like, you know what? Points were made. You've been overruled. What? Now, mind you, Tellis is still on the stand looking bewildered and still being questioned. So then the defense asked him, have you ever heard about blood smeared across doorways that people were afraid to cross until they hung a chicken upside down from a pecan tree? Y'all, I swear I ain't making this up. Check out the Upper Locker Auburn News from Tuesday, September 27, 1977, page 3. Citing sources is not a problem, but it's too much. This is too motherfucking much. And my guy Tellis, y'all know he from the Caucasoid Mountain peoples, and he didn't know what the fuck was going on. All he could do was sit up there and look and say, I have not. And then the defense attorney was like, well, I tell you what, if you stick around, I got a witness that's going to tell you all about it. Man, Tellis couldn't wait to get out that goddamn stand and get back to the land of the unseasoned food where it was safe again. Like, what the fuck? A mess. Now, I wasn't there, but I do know what side of this here situation Ophelia was on. She sat behind the prosecution for both days of the trial, so she chose the nigga that killed her daughter over the brother-in-law that avenged her daughter's death. Well, when the defense got up to do their thing, and do their thing they did, they called a man named Alfonso Murphy. And when Zoe got up there, he testified that Reverend Maxwell had tried to hire him to kill Shirley Ann. And he said that he told Willie, hell to the no. And then he went and ran and told his boss about the conversation that he had with Willie. Also, him and his boss went to the family of Shirley Ann and told them that Maxwell was trying to get somebody to kill her. You heard me. So wait, Nate, let me get this right. Ophelia knew that this shit was about to happen before it happened. She knew, and not only did she know, the bitch went and talked to Reverend Red about the shit. And he was like, you can't believe everything you hear. What in the entire fuck? Oh, bitch, you was in on it. Shirley Ann was adopted. You didn't give two shits about her. Ain't no motherfucking way. You just wanted a check cut, you funky bitch. Ain't no goddamn way. Cause remember, she was thought to be had something to do with that first wife getting got. You knew what kind of man you married and you was down with the shits. Ooh, you's a funky bitch. Now, the defense, they called Robert's wife, had to call her up there. Miss Vera May, she got up on the stand and she told the jury that her husband, look, he take his piece with him everywhere he go, including the church. So, I ain't think nothing of it when he got up that day and put his gun on him. We ain't think Maxwell was gonna be there. So this shit went on for 2 days, 2 whole days of voodoo and chickens and blood smeared and objections and fighting and this, that, and the third. I mean, it was real ugly in there and it was real negacious. And after 2 days of fuckery, foolery, and superstitions, it was finally time for the jury to do what they do. Now, mind you, the jury is made up of all white men. So you know what we think they about to do, right? Right? Come on now. Well, they deliberated for about 5 hours. And you know what? That's decent. Not too fast, not too slow for a case that should be slam dunk because, again, we got 1,000 witnesses. Now, understand, a motherfucker did not leave the courthouse this entire time. So they was like, as long as the jury is here, we gonna be here. And that's something when a motherfucker stay to see if some shit gonna happen. That's also life before digital mediums. Cause mind you, they've been at the courthouse since around 8 o'clock that morning and it's going on 10 o'clock at night and they still here like they working a shift at the plant and some OT. Girl, bye. They not even getting paid. So that this was the trial of the century in Coosa County. Baby, it was the place to be. Well, the jury, they didn't disappoint. They came back about 10:30 at night and they said, Robert, take your ass home. We would have did the same thing. Yes, y'all. Honey, they found him not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, what was funny, and a lot of shit been funny this episode, but the next funny thing was that when the verdict was read, the defense was shocked and amazed because they just knew Robert's ass was heading up the river for killing a man in cold blood in front of everybody. Baby, they was so sure he was going to be found guilty that the attorney had already filled out the appeal documents. Yes, I know that for a fact because they found the application in the trash can. Oh, ye of little faith. But I understand because it's motherfuckers who been convicted for way less. Robert did the shit in front of 1,000 witnesses and the deceased Shirley Ann got up and testified. The fuck? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm moving on. Okay, so yeah. So Robert is free. Kinda. He free-ish. You see, the defense was insanity. And so since they found you insane, you gotta spend a little time in a mental hospital to treat your insanity. And I don't care. I believe the judge was shook too. He wasn't prepared to send Robert nowhere but prison, right? So he needed a minute to gather his thoughts too. This shit happened at night, the judge was probably 2 or 3 fingers in his scotch, so he was just like, what, we'll just deal with this shit in the morning. And that's what they did. It's legit like 50 to 80 people that are still in the courtroom this time of night. And they all are there and they're shaking Robert's hand and they hugging him and they congratulating him. Cause they ain't fuck with Bishop bump him off either. So, Robert goes back to jail that night and then the following morning, everybody reconvenes. And right before the session starts, the DA, he out there in his feelings, he giving a little statement to the press, basically talking about this some bullshit, that nigga ain't insane, and to send him to a mental hospital is a waste of time and a bed for somebody that need it. Oh well, they gonna have to wait, cause because Robert is indeed heading to the Bryce Hospital in Tuscaloosa. Now, here is the thing with the insanity aftermath. Now, you know if you guilty, you going to prison and you are turned over to the Bureau of Prisons, whether that's state or federal, right? Well, when you are insane, you are turned over to the custody of the superintendent at whatever hospital you're going to go get your treatment at. So in this particular case, the superintendent at Bryce Hospital is who Robert was turned over to. And unlike in prison where you know how much time you got to do before they let you out, at a mental hospital type of situation, it's up to the superintendent as to when you are no longer a danger to yourself or anybody else. Well, we all know Unc ain't crazy. He gonna pass the evaluation and be determined to be able to re-enter society fairly quickly. And that's exactly what the fuck happened. They kept Unc for about 2-3 weeks and then they sent that ass back on to the house. And Robert lived out the rest of his days knowing that he had killed the devil that preyed on Coosa County. And New Orleans Nation, this is the batshit crazy story of the Reverend Willie Maxwell, the Voodoo Preacher of Alabama. Lord have mercy. Wasn't that a mess? Child, the niggatry and the gaciousness of it all. Like, who needs fiction when reality is way more fucked up than anything you can think of? And honestly, I ain't really got much to say other than y'all be careful of these pulpit pariahs. Thankfully, you can't get a policy no more without a signature from the person, but there are plenty other ways that these shyster motherfuckers know how to get over on you. So keep your social security number hid and both eyes open for the grift. Everybody that knows scriptures ain't holy, and if you know like I know, the devil can quote the Bible just as good as a saint. Hopefully, you can discern shit from Shinola. And I can't wait to see what y'all got to say about this one. Y'all hit me up on the social media pages. I am Melanin Mayhem Podcast on YouTube, IG, Facebook, and I am Melanin Mayhem PC on X. There is a fabulous private discussion group on Facebook. Go ahead and search for Melanin Mayhem Podcast discussion groups and we get you joined up right quick, boo-boo. Okay, so I am super excited to drop some good tea on things to come. Baby, me and my peeps in the Black True Crime Collective are putting on a live show, baby. And not just any kind of live show, because we a gang, right? It's a bunch of us. So we got to spice that thing up and bring you something a little different. So I'm going to tell you, little tease, go ahead and mark your calendars, put your PTO in and get them flights on deck for October 18th, right here in the city of Atlanta. Tickets will be on sale shortly and will be limited, so don't play with it. October 18th. October 18th is going down, baby. Crime, Canvases, and Cocktails is definitely going to be the event you didn't even know you were missing. So, moving on. This week's New Orleans Nation shout out goes to Mrs. Momo, who titled the review, Love It Here. Mrs. Momo said, the storytelling here is top tier. I'm new here, but we locked in. Yes, sis, that's what I'm trying to hear. Thank you so much for taking the time to leave me a review, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening. Okay, New Orleans Nation. Last, before I get up out of here, please keep spreading the word that the country girl is the truth. And if you can, just this one time, I for those of my listeners who listen on Apple and YouTube and Amazon and all of those other places, favor time. I wouldn't ask y'all but I really could use a favor. If you wouldn't mind downloading Spotify, you ain't got to listen to the whole episode on Spotify, because I know we like to listen to our podcast, we like to listen to our podcast. But Spotify got me in a chokehold because they won't recognize my streams from any other platform. So while I got the streams that they want me to have, they holding me back. So if you would not mind, download Spotify, play the episodes. You ain't got to listen to the whole thing. Like I said, just give me like 3 minutes and then you can cut it off. That's just enough for Spotify. Please, 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 because they is truly fucking with my gangster right now. I'm so close to kicking open them monetization doors. Oh my God, help a sister out, honey. They holding the purse strings and it's too much. If you can, I'd appreciate it. If you can't, you know what? I appreciate you listening where you are. I'm gonna get that one way or the other regardless. But again, put me in the group chat. Let all your peoples know they need to listen to Melanin Mayhem Podcast. So, okay, this episode is a hella long. So let me attempt to get in this lab and shave it down as much as I can. Y'all know what it is. Until we talk again, stay safe. Stay
vigilant. And for God's sake, y'all stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. It's One Love, New One Nation, and the country girl is out of here.
Woo-wee, Nana, you did that.